Okay, so I forgot to mention, you don't have to sieve it. See, you don't have to strain it. You don't have to do whatever this is to it. I just like to do it. I mean, you're gonna add coarse salt to it, so you don't have to. So next, I'm gonna add. Yeast is still in the fridge. A teaspoon of yeast to this, and depending on what it is, how much flour you put in it, it may seem kind of odd of a technique to have raising liquid, because I'm pretty sure the original recipe was a liquid, but the all-purpose blend, which I used, was not making it a liquid. And I like it not a liquid now. Then I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of sugar. The original recipe of this calls for vegetable oil, a tablespoon. Yeah, a tablespoon of vegetable oil. I prefer olive oil, and nothing wrong has happened when I use olive oil before. So, it gives it a nicer flavor, a bit healthier, because olive oil is like the healthiest oil there is. Then 3/4 cup of warm water. Warm or hot? I do hot just because the longer something raises, the more flavor it will have, and the hotter something is, warmer something is, the more flavor it will have, and the topping, in my opinion, shouldn't have a ton of flavor. It should just be there for garnish and, well, yeast flavor, that is. Okay, so I'm going to transfer to a wooden spoon. Actually, a fork. Actually, just a normal spoon. I totally know what I'm doing, just it may not look like it. I think I'm going to add a bit more water. It's a bit too thick. Needs to be spreadable. But somewhat lumpy. Even though we sieved it, it's going to still be lumpy. Next, we're going to add black food coloring. This is squeezed gel food coloring, if you have it. If you don't, just use liquid food coloring or black non-pipeable squeezable food coloring. And a little tip, if you get food coloring on like your counter or on your hands, what you can do to remove it is you just put a little bit of lemon juice or vinegar. Vinegar will stink your hands up, and lemon juice will make your hands smell lemony. And just wash it off with lemon juice, if it won't come off with just water and soap. I think it needs a bit more black food coloring. So it's pretty smooth right now. When it bakes, I almost forgot to put the salt. The recipe calls for half a teaspoon of coarse salt. We use sea salt, Mediterranean sea salt. I find that if the topping is a bit more salty, you should, well, if you like your topping a bit more salty, you should put more salt, which makes sense. So I add about a teaspoon, see how it looks. I'll probably add a bit more. And I also like halfway through baking it, I add a bit more salt on top for just some texture looking stuff. So it's looking pretty nice right now. It sort of looks grainy, and that's something you want. Let me see. So we're gonna let this rise for 20 minutes. We're gonna put this and the rolls in a warm place, and for 20 minutes covered with a towel or plastic wrap if you want. Then we'll see you then. Okay, so they've risen for 20 minutes, so the next part is putting the topping thing on top of them. The topping thing sort of seems unusual, kind of, because it's fluffy. It's almost like whipped cream, just different. Because A, it's black, B, it's sort of grainy. So I'm going to put a spoonful to start with on each of these. Bigger ones will take more, smaller ones will take probably just a spoonful. I'll just show you them. So you just want to spread it out like this. This is just a spreading knife. I have no idea what the proper name of it. I call it a spreading knife because they come with those like smorgasbord sort of thing. And when this bakes, the topping will spread out a bit. Even when it rises, the third rise of these buns. These buns are quite airy and light because they rise 3 times, which is like crazy in the bread world. Like the most you rise things is twice, but not these buns. They require 3 times. You want a bit of the red showing because it looks cool. And so I'll continue these, and then I'll show you what they all look like, and I'll tell you how long you do the third proof. Okay, so I've got them nice and covered. You'll notice you'll probably have quite a bit of the topping left. If you see that after the third rise, they need a bit more topping, put it on then, it should be fine. And, I mean, I don't know if you can save it. So we'll put a not a paper towel, a cloth towel over them, warm place, another 20 minutes, so we'll see you then. Okay, so they finished the 20-minute thing. I'm gonna sprinkle just a little bit of the coarse sea salt on top of them, just to tell a flavor story, kind of. Then we'll put them in a 400 oven for 15 to 20 minutes. I'll check them at 15. If they're ready, we'll show you them. Okay, so it's been 15 minutes. And so how I'm going to tell if these ones are done, another reason why they're kind of finicky, is they're just hard to tell when they're done. If it's kind of hard-ish, generally they're done. Another test is the toothpick test, but that's kind of difficult-ish to do with these, because generally, if I could make like a swirl sort of thing inside of it, that probably means it's not done. But because I can't, I think it's done. And you'll notice that it cracked, the topping cracked a bit. supposed to do that. Hope you guys will give this a try. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share this to anyone you would think would enjoy this. So find joy in cooking the Addams Family. Okay, so sorry, technical difficulties. So we're gonna do the topping. Kind of funny story with this. The first time I made this, because it calls for rice flour, and I couldn't find rice flour, and I didn't want to blend up a bunch of rice, because that doesn't sound appealing. So I found like this gluten-free all-purpose blend. It has rice flour, potato starch, pea flour, tapioca starch, and Yaxthiam gum, however you say that. And it's worked. Never used rice flour, and this just works fine. So it is, the recipe calls for 1 cup. I need a cup measure, but depending on how thick you're wanting it, you could use half a cup to 1 cup. I like mine pretty thick, so I'm going to use the full 1 cup, and I'm doing it in half cup increments because that's all this sieve, I believe, can hold. Okay, so I'll come back when I've got all this 1 cup of flour, gluten-free all-purpose blend of flour done.